Welcome back to Playing the Game, episode 10. Today we've got Brett. We got Brett in. We thought if you can see him, if you're watching visually, you'd be able to see that he's just a unit of a human. So we're just going to come in, we just talk about fitness, health, and everything. How's your morning going?
Yeah, been pretty well. Started off good. Just a little run with the lads. Start the day off well.
What else would you rather do to start off the day?
Oh, no, you're just getting at it. As soon as you wake up, trying to keep it with the lads.
What is your morning? Do you have a morning routine? Are you always like straight into exercise? What do you sort of go for there?
I like to train like first thing in the morning, get it out the way. So like the hard stuff's done. And then it gets the endorphins going, get those feel good chemicals straight away. And it just sets the tone for the day, to be fair. Don't mind training in the afternoon as well though. Mm-hmm. If I'm maybe doing a double sesh, maybe a late night run maybe. But yeah, I'd like to get in, train early. If I'm not training myself, I'll be coaching. Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see on the camera, we've got a little hybrid lab. So obviously, I got you on for a reason because you have a bit of expertise in physical fitness, nutrition. Let's start with hybrid lab. What's sort of the premise there, and what are you looking to achieve with that?
So hybrid lab, that's one of the bros, Zebby Tyre. He reached out to me and he had this concept of a thing called hybrid lab, and basically it's the concept of most people have the transformation, they have a weight loss journey or they build muscle and they get from A to B. For us, we want to take you from B to C. So once you've achieved your transformation, we want to then use what you've developed in that first stage and then take you to the next level. So whether that's like doing endurance runs, long distance running, calisthenics, which I've got into because of my brother. So doing like muscle ups, handstands, all that kind of stuff, and just using your body in different ways and methods. So yeah, that's what hybrid lab is. It's being able to use your body in different ways other than just lifting weights or losing weight. Yeah.
Cool. I like it. You obviously have a bit of a background. You talked about your brother was a bit of influence with the calisthenics. Yeah. What was it growing up? Were you always into gym? Or obviously you played a bit of footy together. Were you always sort of very gym focused, or was it sort of as you got older, you sort of accustomed to the routine and decided to go down that?
Yeah, well, I would say that it kind of started as a young'un. Our dad was heavily into sports, rugby league fanatic. He was actually opposed to rugby union. We always it was rugby league. Rugby union was a swear word, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then my brother got into rugby, but no, we were always involved in sports. So even back in New Zealand, we used to do athletics. Dad would get us into that. Got into rugby league when I was like 4 years old. I used to play in my brother's team, like 2 ages up until I was like 10, 11. So always involved in that. Used to always do like long distance bike riding with our dad when we were young. And then when we moved to Australia, off season we were doing surf lifesaving. We were beachies though, so like beach sprints. Try to go in the water but would half drown. So yeah, we used to ride our bikes to surf lifesaving training, weight training, and then yeah, just always been involved within rugby league. And I think for me it was the gym training was something that I found quite natural. Had quite a few good connections with a lot of strength and conditioning coaches over the years through like the development programs through Titans and that back in the young days. Mm-hmm. For like under 16s, under 18s. Couple of guys, Horse, all the boys on the Gold Coast will know who that is. Andrew Horsker. And a few others as well. And like I found passion in that. Like I liked pushing my body in that aspect. And yeah, I think like weights and all that kind of stuff was more of like a therapy in a sense. Yeah, it made me feel good. And then, if you're semi-good at it, you carry on. And yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about then is it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I'm sure the first time you stepped into a gym, I haven't personally trained with Horse, but I've heard the stories. I would assume you weren't feeling too good at the time when you first got into there. And yeah. It's so interesting because so many people I see gym as if you haven't been to the gym before and you go to the gym or you're not regular, like it can be the scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
And you're sort of walking in there. Like, I even go on machines that I haven't used before, and I'm pretty regular in the gym user. But if I haven't used the machine and I sort of like look next to it and I'm like, what's that machine? And I'll do the walk bys and I'll be like trying to read like if it's like the one with the labels on there.
Wait
like,
for someone to use it. And
yeah,
see how
I'm
they
just
use it.
like, what's trying to read the label on there? Like, what does that do? But how was your first experience getting into the gym when you first straight in there? Were you a bit worried? Did you know what you're doing? How was that?
Well, like I said, like being involved within like the development programs through footy. I went to a school called PBC, like yourself. Great school on the Gold Coast, footy orientated. Great teachers as well. I actually loved school, didn't want to leave. But there was a gym there. They ran us through gym. They ran us through all the classes and all that type of stuff. Taught us how to use the weights. Few coaches that everybody would know would be like Brentnell, Mr.
Zimmo.
McKinn, and then obviously everyone knows old Zimmo, Aaron Zimmerly. And yeah, they basically showed us how to use the weights and how to bench, how to make sure you count your reps. If you don't count your reps, you get extras. Learn how to do pull-ups on the bars. You hear about snake bites.
Snake bites, yeah.
On snake bites, everyone knows that. So I think that was like my kind of experience in the gym. To be fair, my dad used to always have a home gym, and it was like, you know, those old bench presses where you have like the old iron plates and it's got like a leg extension, a leg curl on it.
Yeah.
And our dad used to, we used to have like a little notebook that we used to have our workouts written, and it would just be like bench press, bent over rows. He used to always like have a wooden bloody block on the ground, and we'd have to do calf raises because me and my brother had the skinniest calves ever. And then my brother got the calves, so I got the height. And yeah, it'd be like leg extensions and leg curls, and that was my technical first experience in gym, was actually with my dad. And then probably at school, and then surf lifesaving. There was a little gym at the bottom of Currumbin Viking Surf Club. We used to use that quite often. And then the first gym that I actually signed up to, so a commercial gym, would have been Jets. Jets in Burleigh. So, but that's probably where it's more so that experience and going into where everyone can see you in public. But by then I was probably already confident. So yeah, I think I would see like machines that I haven't used, and yes, I would have that small experience of like I knew what I was doing with free weights to an extent, because it wasn't really machines in the garage or at the school. But yeah, I felt like I was exposed to the gym scene quite early. So it was pretty easy for me to have that transformation going into like a public gym. To be fair, I used to always like, I don't know, it was like the Ziz era, you know? Straight after school, like you just wanted to be the shredded dude, like bloody Ziz. Living on the Gold Coast, it's a hot temperature. So
any excuse to get the shirt off.
Any excuse to get the shirt off, you know. And when you're training at footy, everybody rips into you if you have your shirt off, but you know, that's just what it was.
That's it.
Yeah.
You mentioned one thing there I'd sort of like to touch on is when you have the notebooks and you're writing, were you sort of tracking your weights? Did you like get a bit of introduction there to make sure how important tracking your weights are if you want to progress?
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, I think that's a key thing to take is like, I probably learned that at a really early stage, is tracking what you're doing in the gym is a key to actually getting growth in the gym. So whether that's like tracking how many steps you're doing, tracking what weights you're lifting, like if you want to get progressive overload with your type of training. So if you're lifting the same weight every week, yeah, you could maybe get results, but if you track it and you only make those small increments, whether it's like 1 kilo extra a week or 1 kilo every 2 weeks, you're still making those small steps to growth, and you can't do that if you don't track it. You could maybe have it in your head, and it's like anything, like business as well. If you don't track and you don't have data to track your progress, then you don't know where you're at. It's a guessing game. So yeah, I guess that's probably the crucial thing that I took from having that little notebook with my dad. And then also like with pre-season at like footy training and stuff like that. Again, Andrew Horsker, old horse, we'd have these sheets all printed out, and it'd have our workouts that have probably like a 2 4 week programs. It would be like a strength phase and all that kind of thing. And I think like I liked like looking at it and like sussing it out. And yeah, you'd track your weights. You'd have to write them down. And that's what you learn from like being in footy, which was a good thing for me. Like you get exposed to the standards on what you need to meet. There's expectations from you as well. So yeah, like even weighing yourself before you played a game of footy. Like you'd weigh yourself, you'd play footy, you'd have to weigh yourself after to see how much water you lost and sweat you lost in the game. And it'd be like 3 liters, 3 kilos difference for me because heavy sweater. But yeah, it's just data. The more data that you can track, whether it's your food, your weights, how many steps you're doing, is crucial to actually getting good growth within fitness or health. Yeah.
100% agree. And I think even in life, progressive overload, you got to be able to challenge yourself. And it's sort of that range of, okay, I'm here now, but how do we get to here? And it's like, all right, I'm going to have to suck for a little bit. I'm going to go through a little bit of hurt and then to be able to get to the other end of that. One thing you also said was the testing and the schedule and having that. And I also enjoyed that. One thing, I'm assuming, I don't know if you did as well, we did the testing, always testing at the start, and then you get your programs from then. So like my 1RM, my 3RM, my rep max, max weight for anyone. From there, and then you get the programs backwards. And I love that being, as you said, the data. It's like, okay, this is how much I can lift. I should be lifting this much. But then also, on the other side, I love seeing what everyone else could lift. And for me, you can look at me. I wasn't I'm not the biggest lifter in there. That wasn't where my specialty lies, but it still gives you that healthy competition and gives you goals, aspirations to shoot for. And I find it so hard when you got nothing to work for. Like right now, we're both training for high rocks, and it makes it so easier when you have that goal at the end and you have that accountability. And you're like, all right, this is what I said I'm going to do. Now I got to do it. Rather than you just go through, I do as well. You have nothing to train for, no training blocks, and you go hard. You got motivation for the first 4 weeks, but then you got nothing else to look forward to. So you're sort of like, all right, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, completely agree. I think you need to chuck yourself in the deep end sometimes and make a goal that's a little bit unattainable, and then just create those small goals in between on what you need to achieve in order to get there. Because without those small goals to get to that end goal, then you're not gonna get any results.
What's one thing you think people get wrong about the gym?
That's a good question. I'd probably say one thing that people probably get wrong is that they need to be the best straight away, or they need to be good at doing it before they start. You briefly mentioned it already, but you need to suck at something first in order to progress at it. And you need to basically make this leap of faith and commit to it and just put like 1% in to be a little bit better that first time. So go and suck it at the first day, the next day or next week. Just be 1% better than that first day. And that's probably what people do wrong, is they have this expectation that, all right, I've seen this guy on Instagram, or I've seen this guy do this thing, but they didn't just end up there. Right? I call it closet training because you don't see it. There's a lot of training that's gone on behind the scenes in order for them to get to where they are. And people just assume that they've just become that athlete or become that great at lifting, or they can do a muscle up because they've just got the strength, or they're a natural athlete, or they've got the genetics. But every athlete and every person that's successful in business and everything else, they've put in the work day in, day out, and they've been consistent with it. And it's just being consistent in everything that they do, turning up each day and just having a crack. That's literally it. And that's probably my advice to people, is just chuck yourself in the deep end, be a little bit uncomfortable in the start, and you probably put in like 1 week of just being consistently turning up for yourself in the gym or business or whatever it is, and you'll feel confident the next time you go in. So yeah, that's what I'd probably say.
100%, I agree. Yeah. And I want to add to that in the consistency, and you're just going to suck. and then it's going to get boring.
Mm.
And then once it gets boring, that's when the real work starts.
Yeah.
And that's something I've definitely tried to work on, is sort of just chasing those small wins, instant gratification. I'll go to the gym for like 4-week block and I start seeing some gains, and I'm like, I'm doing the same exercises, or I'm doing the same reps, and I'm doing the same stuff every single week. And my brain's like, man, this is boring. It's like, yeah, but this is what works. Like, this is how you got from here to here.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to change the plan?
Yeah.
Like, this is the cheat code. You don't need to change it up. It doesn't need to be exciting every single time. It's going to be pretty boring for a bit, but it works. So just keep going.
Yeah. That's probably like one thing. That's probably another misconception is like, and this is where like social media comes into the players. There's all these hectic exercises, but the basic boring compound exercises that you perform, like your squats, your deadlifts, your bench press, your pull-ups, all those kind of basic exercises should probably stay in your programs if you're doing like weightlifting or anything like that. Those are like your fundamentals, and as boring as the exercises become, if you're doing them every single week, they actually get results. And sometimes, like when I think about exercise, and it depends on what your goals are, but you got to find something that works. Like, let's say you're trying to put on muscle, your goal is to get big. I'd probably say you find a exercise that you feel is working the muscle group that you're trying to work on. So let's say you're trying to build your glutes. You're a girl, you want to build up the glutes, or guy.
That's where all the power comes from.
Yeah, like if you feel your glutes activating more in a squat compared to a hip thrust, do the squats. If the hip thrust is better off for you, do the hip thrust. Or if reverse lunges hit better, or Bulgarian split squats hit your glutes better for you personally, then do those more. The shoe's not going to fit everybody, so find the shoe that fits you and then double down on that if that's what your goal is. So that's where there's a misconception. Like, just find what works for you, because every recipe is going to be different.
What do you have any other tips for people who are either getting started or are starting at the start of their journey, looking to increase a bit of size? What are the basics that are super important?
Well, depending on where you're at, like a lot of it, like let's say if you're just trying to put on size, it's pretty basic when it comes to it. And I've already mentioned it, is just being consistent with your training. It's about volume. So if you're trying to put on weight, you're trying to bulk up, is just being in a calorie surplus. So finding what your basic metabolic rate is.
Can you explain that a little bit more for someone who's...
Yeah, so basic metabolic rate is your energy expenditure that you'll normally spend just sitting down doing what we're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So it's the calories that you'll burn doing absolutely nothing. So you need to maintain that. So when you're eating food, you have like your macros, but your calories is your kind of more important thing. So what you're eating, you can track your calories. You can use apps like MyFitnessPal and all that type of thing. So tracking your calories to hit your basic metabolic rate. If it matches the calories on what you normally burn, you'll be able to maintain what you have. But then when you're training, you're going to burn, like let's say you do a weights session, you might burn, like if you've got a smartwatch, it'll tell you that you've burned like 500 calories.
That's probably a good weight session as well.
So like that's if you like maybe a leg day that you go and ham at.
Yeah.
Maybe you do a little bit of steps after or something. You actually have to eat back those calories in order to still maintain your basic metabolic. That's just to maintain what you have. So in order to gain muscle, you have to put on a little bit of fat. So you'll have to eat, let's say like, I usually say to eat at about 500 calories above what your basic metabolic rate is. So let's say for me, my basic metabolic rate is roughly around like 3,500 maybe, depending. I weigh about roughly 100 kilos, so it's roughly give or take. I don't really track it that much at the moment, but for me to be in a surplus, I usually need to eat around 4,000 calories. Sometimes more, obviously, and I'm running a lot at the moment. Obviously, you said we're doing high rocks. If I go for like a 10K run, I'm burning anything close to like 1,000 calories. Doing weights training as well. For me as well, let's say if you're doing like hybrid training, like kind of what we're doing,
Yeah.
you do weight training, you do cardio. I actually don't eat back the calories that I burn doing weight training. I eat back the calories that I do only during cardio.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just for me, and I've like just done a little bit of research with other people that I follow, and I try to get tips from everybody else, trying to constantly learn. I'm not gonna have all the knowledge.
What is the reasoning that you've researched behind that?
So I can progress. So like you briefly mentioned as well, like plateauing and your training, and I kind of felt like I was hitting a wall with like my energy. So I think when it comes to like endurance sports, it's more about energy and being able to sustain a good energy during your workouts. So I'm not necessarily trying to bulk or shred or anything. I probably need to lose a little bit of kilos to feel a little bit lighter so I can run for longer or faster. But I'm not necessarily trying to lose like mass all up or not trying to gain. I'm just trying to perform. So it's trying to run without feeling fucked.
Feeling every step.
Yeah. I don't. It's, and I learned that the hard way. So, trying to fuel your body so then you have sustained energy during the time frame when you're trying to perform. So like high rocks, it's roughly like an hour 10 maybe if you're running at my pace. So like, to be able to perform your redlining, you're going full throttle for an hour. So being able to sustain that, you got to make sure that you fuel accordingly. The workouts that we're prepping for high rocks are pretty much in line with that type of thing. So, and like timing of your meals as well. That's another thing that I test and trial like when I should eat and everything like that. And sometimes I stuff it up.
What works for you? What times? What are you looking at?
I've always had my general rule of thumb, and again, I learned this at an early stage through training at footy, because like you had to do that. Like you had to like eat a certain stage before you're about to play footy. So my general rule of thumb was like 4 to 5 hours, you'll have like your biggish meal before you're about to perform. Before you're about to actually start your warm-up, not to perform. Because like, let's say you're about to perform at, let's say 5 p.m. 4 o'clock, that's roughly your warm-up time. So you set it based on 4 p.m. So then 12 p.m. and earlier, you should be eating roughly around 11:30ish. So then your food has time to digest as well. Again, the types of food that you're eating, you want to have faster digesting kind of food. So I'd actually stick away from like your brown rices, your wholemeal stuff. I'd be going more towards like your white starchy carbs, like maybe like pasta, white rice.
Is that because it breaks down faster than the brown?
Yeah. And I'd also stick away, like when it's closer to that performing time, I'd stick to like your white meat as well, as it digests a little bit faster. Red meat usually takes a little bit longer. Don't quote me on this, but I think it takes roughly like 8 or so hours for like red meats to digest in comparison to white. White meat's roughly like 4 or 5 hours ish. Don't quote me on it though. Like, mate, do your own research. That's just like in the back of my head. But I've just kind of kept that as my rule of thumb.
Yeah, so. Cool. So I guess for me, key takeaways from there is you just got to make sure if you're looking to put on size, it's just eating essentially. It's just got to make sure that you're getting more calories than you're burning. 100%. I think you said about 500 more calories than you're burning. What about like gym wise? What are you looking? You said max volume for increasing the volume?
Yeah. So when it comes to like building muscle, obviously, stick to those compound lifts that work good for you. Stick to lifts that you feel in your muscles. Depending on how you want to structure it, like the feel good part of when you're training, it's if you're just doing like a bodybuilding kind of bro split type of stuff, and you want to feel good during the session, I stick with like the one muscle group or just do like a push session. So like it's literally just focus on push and not push pull.
But anyone who doesn't know gym, I don't know my audience at the moment, but yeah,
Yeah.
push is any motion where like you're pushing
push. So
out.
it'd be
It's
like anything that's bench press, you're pressing forward. So like you're working chest, triceps, and shoulders. Those are all. So you've got your horizontal push, which is this way, and then your vertical push, which is going to be your shoulders. Then when you talk about pull, you're pulling horizontal pull. So that's like your bent over rows, your one arm dumbbell rows, all that kind of stuff. And then you talk about your vertical pull. So it's like your pull ups, your chin ups, like your lat pull downs and all that kind of stuff.
I always get stuck sometimes, and it's pretty simple when you think about it. It's like, am I pushing or am I pulling?
Yeah,
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, and then like other exercises which get a bit tricky. You're like, is it a leg day exercises, or is it a back day? Something like the deadlift, which is one of the probably biggest compound exercises you can do.
Yeah.
I take it in and out of my programs here and there, depending on like what I'm training for, because it takes a heavy load on you.
For sure.
That can be a back dominant exercise.
I actually chucked my deadlifts in my pull just because I was doing it with my legs, and I had my squats, I was doing hip thrusts, and I had lunges. And it was just like 3 big movements. And I had deadlifts in there at the start, and I'm like, this is the worst session ever. So I'm like, all right, if I could chuck it with my back, 'cause I don't mind my back days. So I'm like, if I chuck it there, at least it's sort of, as you said, it's a big movement, a lot of energy used. So I'm like doing that, I'm like, all right, and I can sort of do my back, whereas I had it with my legs, and I was just like, depleted after it.
Yeah. You're drained, man. You need like a 2 week break off even lifting anything.
Yeah.
Deadlifts is probably one of the best exercises, and it makes you feel good when you can lift heavy, because deadlifts, that's probably the heaviest thing that you can lift in the gym. Like if you're going to go over all your compound lifts, when you can do the technique right, that's where you can put on the most weight to lift.
It's one of those feel good ones.
A bit of an ego lift, As long as you don't stuff your back up and the techies is good, then,
I
pump them out.
found when I did deadlifts for Burley, I remember it was our first did them, and I was just like, my back's sore and it hurt my back.
Yeah.
I probably didn't have the right technique, but then I started doing it again, and the first 2-3 weeks, like I did one and my back was like cramping after it, and I was trying to do my back, and then I just kept doing it. And then I sort of realized, I'm like, I don't think it was a pain. I think it was just I haven't done this exercise, so my body doesn't know how to feel. Yeah. And I do it now, like more weight, and I feel so much better. And I was really interesting. I was talking to Blake, who works here, and we're talking about, I'm like, I don't know if it's like my body breaking down and being sore and tensing up, or if it's just I haven't used those muscles, so now you're a little bit sore, and kept going. And there's a fine line between like, do I keep going or not? But I'm like, I'll see how it goes.
I think like the thing when I do deadlifts as well, like, because like I said, I take it in and out of my programs. When I bring it back into my program, I have to always consciously think that, like, don't try to lift what I was lifting before. And I have to bring myself back to earth and go, all right, if I could, like, I'll just chuck numbers out, not saying this is what I lift, but let's say it was 200 kilos, what I was finishing on the last program. There's no way that if I took it out that I'm going to go straight back to 200. So I usually drop it back down, humble myself, and start off light again and slowly introduce it back into the program. And then I'll slowly be able to get back to that 200 or go past that 200 again. Like I'll drop it back down to just doing 100 or 140, and I'll know roughly where my base is, and I have to always go back to the base of what I've used before. Like let's say if I didn't do it for 8 weeks, I'm not going to be able to lift that same weight. And that's what I feel like is sometimes a mistake that normal gym goes in. They're like, oh yeah, I used to lift that, I can still lift it. And then you go in and injure yourself. And that's what you have to be precautious about when you're training, is don't let the ego take over, and humble yourself and focus on the techies first, and then you'll be able to build back up to where you were.
I think what is also nice about stepping back and going back after a break, I've just recently sort of got back into the gym, and I was very cautious of not being ego, and I didn't want to injure myself also, but it was also, at least each week I knew I could get better. Yeah. And it was like a little carrot. It was like, I felt good after I'd doing 6, and I could do 8, so my progressive overload's working. And then I also knew I had more in the tank. So the next week, I up it again, rather than just going straight out max. And then next week, like struggling to get it out, and I'm always at max. Obviously, you want to be hitting max so you can get better, but it's good to sort of be able to push yourself, because you can sort of see yourself getting better and progressive, rather than now I'm at that stage where I'm sort of caught up and every week it's like the same weight. I can add like 1-2 kilos on.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to be able to lift more again. So it's
Yeah.
that little carrot of being able to get better.
Yeah. I think with that as well, it's like it's always good training with somebody else. Obviously, if you can't, like, that's fine, and you just got to stay like a bit more disciplined. And like you could message someone and say, "Oh yeah, let's go do a session." But for me, I'm like, if I send a message to someone, I'm like, fuck, I have to go. I can't let this person down. I'm someone like that. Like if you said you're going and then you message me and I'm like, oh, I can't go. I've already that's locked in for me. I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
I've booked it in. There's no doubt. I'll turn up, and if you're not there, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll crack on and get it done. But having a training partner and somebody who has like same goals as you, wants to do good. And I call that like just surrounding yourself with good people and like putting yourself in a good environment. I think like environment is like key for everything. If you're surrounded by good people, you got a good training partner, you got good business partners, or you got good just family members, whatever it is, you're going to be in a better position. So yeah, if you got some like the High Rocks crew that we train with, good bunch of people, everyone's got the same goal, same intentions, they want to go hard. It pushes you to be a little bit better. So like you probably, if you train by yourself, you can talk yourself out of a few things, but if you've got other people there, they're going to make you push a little bit harder. You've got people, like, let's say they're a little bit better than you. I think I seen it on one of your posts as well. And like, if someone's a little bit better than you, you want to strive, you're striving to try and just even be on their level. Like you watch different podcasts and listen to different people, Hormozy or them lads or whatever, but the environment is everything. If you're surrounded by people that like to party, you're going to party. If you're surrounded by people who like to train and like to get at it early in the mornings, start their day off well, you're going to do the same. You're surrounded by people who are millionaires, you're probably going to be a millionaire soon. So yeah, environment is everything. And if you need to cut off some people, like maybe you need to cut off some people, and you just need to like make that hard decision sooner rather than later as well. So yeah, at the end of it, like you need to be true to yourself and find like what's good for you, and yeah, just go straight, mate. Go hard, put the foot down, and yeah.
I agree. It's proximity is power.
Yeah.
Like your environment is so big. I think I stole this off Ice. I don't know where. I think it was from him, but he talks about you're in your environment and you're here, and then it's just that sort of that start of that growing period. So like you're here and you want to get to here, but it's like I was going through. I'm starting. It's good now having the High Rocks crew and like training with you guys a bit more. I feel like I'm getting closer to the goals that I want to get to in like physical and things like that. But for so long, for like the last like year or so, I've been like in this in between period, and it's like you're. Still love my old friends. Don't get me wrong. Like they're still cool. Love them so much. They're the best. But like we have different goals. Yeah. Like so, it's like for different periods, for different friends, you have sort of different goals. And like I was at that page where I wanted to grow, like physically, grow my business, and just sort of grow as a person, personal development, so on. So I was like here, and then it's like you're in that middle period, and you're in like a little bit of a limbo. And it's sort of as you're trying to like make new friends and learn your new hobbies and your new interests, and you're trying to grow and you're trying to find that new circle. And it's just like a bit of a lonely period, and you're just like, oh man, like is it worth it? Do I go back down to here? But it's like you just got to keep going, keep prospering, and then eventually sort of I think social media has been good because it does get a lot of negative connotations and a lot of unrealistic goals, but it's the connection power is so good. Yeah. Like just being 100%. Able to go like on there scrolling like reels, like your algorithm is what you sort of follow. So it's like being able to see like, oh, that's a Gold Coast beach. Oh, that's a dude from the Gold Coast. He runs along there. I run along there. Hey bro, what's going on? What time do you run? Like it's just so cool for that connection to be able to grow. And I think having your environment around you is just so important. Yeah, like good networking opportunities like that. It's like, if you can connect with people that have the same mindset as you, then mate, like, don't be scared to just reach out to them. Like if they've got the same mentality as you, then you'll connect with them. And like you're saying about like having your different friend groups and stuff like that. If they're a true friend to you as well, like
you don't have to hang out with them all the time, and you can make friends that align with who you want to be and what you want to do, and still have those friends there. If they're your true friends, they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
Like
Always supportive.
and you're always rooting for them as well.
Yeah.
No matter, like, I've got mates that I used to hang out with all the time back when I was like 16, and that I still root for them, but they had different goals and they're doing different stuff. I'll do my stuff. But when I see them, man, it's like we talk about old times and it's like nothing's changed.
You just want to win in different things.
Yeah,
like I'm winning this game, you're winning that game, and
I want
that's
them to
cool.
win just as bad, but it's like I've got different goals. I'm going to connect with people that align with like what my goals are. And mate, we'll still stay connected, but that's just what happens. And when you need to grow, I think you need to be a little bit selfish with that type of stuff as well. And you just need to commit to it and know what's true to yourself as well.
For sure. I want to sort of go back a little bit because we talked about how to put on size and growth and things. I want to talk about someone who maybe doesn't have much gym knowledge, wants to sort of, I want to flip it around, maybe like lose some weight, get fit, trim up. What's sort of the key principles you're looking at there?
So weight loss. So I mentioned about like your basic metabolic rate. So the thing is when people always think of weight loss, they think, oh yeah, like people say calorie deficit, I need to eat less. If you're just always eating less from the get-go, your body's going to get used to that. So like your body adapts to certain stimulus. So like if you're training the same all the time and eating the same all the time, your body will adapt to that. And your body's always going to fight against that too. So like if you're eating fuck all, your body's going to be like, oh, you're not eating enough? Cool. I'm going to start storing energy because I normally get energy from food, carbohydrates, and all the rest. So I'm going to start storing energy to use for later because I don't know when I'm getting fed because you keep starving me. And that will turn into fat. So then they'll store fat because it doesn't know when it's going to eat. So then when you talk about basic metabolic rate, the thing is everybody that comes, have you like metabolism? If you're not eating enough calories, your metabolism is going to go low. So then it won't burn fat. So then you're going to stop burning fat. Your metabolism is going to go low because you don't have enough food in you. You should be eating at maintenance if you just want to maintain what you have. So eat at maintenance. The thing, like what I would do for somebody if, like, let's say you want to transform your body, you want to lose weight. The first thing you should probably do is like, have you tracked your calories? Have you tracked your macros before? If they're not, let's try track it for like 1 to 2 weeks. And we just want you to eat at maintenance. And that's, you can work it out, search it up, or hire a PT, speak to a professional, somebody who knows about like your macros and how to track it for you. That would be my first thing that I would do if I'm trying to lose weight. And you need to boost your metabolism back up. So your body's going to be working in that fat burning state when your metabolism's high. So I would get a PT, ask them, blah, 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 I want to lose weight. They'll talk about your metabolism. So boost the metabolism back up, get you eating at maintenance for a little bit, and then you can drop the calories after that, depending how fast and like what your goals are. Let's say you got a wedding, you want to look good for the hubby, all these pics are going to be there for life. Everyone's going to see you in this white dress. So, or you're the groom and you want to look good for the missus, you want to look good. You're just wearing a little bow tie and topless because, it's the Gold Coast. It's too hot to wear a suit when you get married. So like, you want to look good. You've got an event, or it's just summer coming up in the Gold Coast and you don't want to...
You're not allowed to wear a shirt on the Gold Coast.
You're going to be shirtless, so you have to have a good body. So if that's the goal, boost your metabolism back up, eat at maintenance, keep that for like, let's say, I'd say 2 to 4 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, and then try and just eat that for a little bit and see how your body reacts. Once your body reacts to it, as long as you're training consistent as well on top of that, keep steps up, make sure you...
what is a basic... Would 30 minutes of walking a day, 2 days, like what would your baseline be if you're still trying to hit those goals for cardio exercise wise?
Cardio? Yeah. Well, what I'll say first before that, and I'll get back to that in a second, but I think that like, so you'd boost your metabolism, hit those calories, and then you'd drop it by like, if you want to do it fast, drop it by like 500, maybe 700 calories, depending. You got to see how the body reacts, because like everybody's just testing, seeing how your body reacts. If your body reacts good and your energy is still good, then we play on. If your body's reacting not so good, we can move it up or down accordingly with the calories. And yeah, you just play around with like a few of the numbers depending. Once you've done that, like obviously you're talking about the training aspect then. So you can do the weights training. That's going to help you build muscle. If you haven't trained in a while, you probably start training consistently. You're probably going to be able to put on a little bit of muscle and lose a little bit of fat at the same time, which you say you can't do that at the same time. But if you haven't trained and you haven't done fuck all, you're probably going to put on a little bit of muscle and lose a little bit of fat. And you'll be like, yeah, you can do both.
Yeah.
But you can't really do both once you've got to a stage of training consistent. If you're doing the same training and then drop the cows, your body will just go into a calorie. You'll start losing weight, calorie deficit. But this, in regards to like cardio and how much you probably should be doing, every person's going to be different, and it depends on how many calories you burn during your sessions as well. So my like average rule of thumb, like let's say, I think there's a little bit of a misconception as well. So with like running and fueling for your runs, like let's say you're doing a long run, 10K run, you're actually eating enough food and you're trying to get your glycogen levels up. You're getting like your sugars and all that kind of stuff in, you're having your gels, your sodium. You're actually using that as fuel and you're not going to burn fat. So you won't actually get shredded just because you're running and you're doing cardio. Like you could stay at the same weight, or you might even put on weight depending if you're eating too much. And you're using a different energy system when you're running. Whereas if you're doing like low impact cardio, you're more likely to get into that fat burning state. So like walks, that's why you see bodybuilders, they'll like walk on a treadmill or walk on the Stairmaster for a long period of time. They'll do their training session, jump on the Stairmaster for like an hour after their training. I usually say like when you're doing your steps or doing your cardio, you probably need to have, I usually say like after 30 minutes, you've burnt through the carbs and the stuff that you've eaten. After 30 minutes, that's when you're trying to, like, you're getting into that fat burning state.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll usually tell like my clients that I'll say like, oh yeah, so we'll do a training session, we'll do some weights and stuff like that, you know, get the toning, if you say that that's a thing. Like if you can tone up, that's not really toning, you're just building muscle, and then if you lose fat, then you look shredded. But yeah, I'll tell them to jump on like a cardio equipment and just do a slow, maintainable pace. Like let's say zone 2. Zone 2 is just like a certain level of your heart rate where you can maintain at, like, let's say talking like
pace,
you can talk and perform the exercise. That's like your zone 2.
Yeah.
And just being able to maintain that for a long period, that's probably more your fat burning kind of exercise. So, yeah, I'll get them on a bike or get them on a Stairmaster or get them on a treadmill, or just go, like, if you can, get outside, get in the sun, go for a long walk, make it at least an hour. And then hopefully you'll get into that fat burning state. If they haven't done too much walking or cardio before, I'd try and just say like get 10K steps in a day at the start, and then we can ramp it up depending on how your body reacts.
Cool. So key takeaways for that, for flipping it down. So it's if you are under eating, it's get back to maintenance, let your body build your metabolism so you can start burning fat again. And then after that, we'll drop the calories back down. And then in accordance with that, we want to make sure that we're still doing a little bit of exercise. If you're looking to, you can do a little bit more of gym. It'll help as you said at the start, it'll help build that muscle, then maybe burn a bit of fat. Then from there, you're probably just going to look at more building muscle.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, after about half an hour of just zone 2, talking pace cardio, you'll be able to start to hit your fat zones there.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is like another misconception, a lot of misconceptions, but is lifting weights, you're going to just become huge and jacked. You're not going to become huge and jacked. Those people like have been eating in a calorie surplus for years and then doing a shred, then a calorie surplus on the bulk for years to get to where they are. And you're not going to get there just by lifting a couple of dumbbells,
couple of 3 kilos,
a few times a week. So that's a misconception. And I think like what the truth is probably is that lifting weights can actually get you in a calorie deficit as well. Or like it can burn a lot of calories. You actually don't burn a lot of calories during the session, but when your body needs to recover, it needs to expend energy to recover, to repair those muscles. And that's where they're actually, that's where the calories are being burnt. So yeah, lifting weights, you're going to burn calories, which helps with fat loss. So that's a little
the more you know.
Inside tip.
Yeah. All right, before we finish off, what is your superpower?
What is my superpower? What do I want it to be?
What is your superpower? Where do you see your strengths? What's one of your biggest strengths?
I like connecting with people. Yeah, so like, yeah, I think that's not saying it's a superpower, but I think it's
own it.
It's not a superpower, but I would say that it's one of my pros of who I am is like, my missus will say this as well, but like I can talk to a wall and like I'll talk to the wall so much that the paint will come off. Like I can talk to anyone. I'll just meet somebody and I'll find out like their whole life story within like 5 minutes, and then my missus will be like, "Who's that?" And I'll be like, "I don't know, I just met them." I'd say that's my superpower, and it's a pro and a con at the same time because I can get stuck in a conversation with someone I don't just met and be there for like 4 hours, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, I gotta go." But yeah, I love connecting with people. I love networking. And yeah, my con in regards to that, sometimes I could probably use it more to my benefit in regards to like working with people and properly networking instead of just having a conversation. That's probably my con with it sometimes. So yeah, I could probably leverage from the conversations that I have with people a little bit more, to help them and help myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. It was a great conversation.
Yes.
Hopefully people got some practical steps.
Yeah.
I know I'm trying to make this as practical as possible. So we got practical steps on how to put on weight, how to lose weight, energy systems, motivation, putting yourself in environments that are going to help you grow. Give yourself a plug.
Yeah, so Hybrid Lab, we've got a little page. It's in my bio as well.
What's your bio?
Instagram handle, brett.stratton. But yeah, Hybrid Lab, I think it's like hybrid lab _ or something like that. But it's on my Instagram page anyway. And Zeb Tyre, he's got his on there as well. So launching very soon. We're trying to do like a little bit of an app and everything like that.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, more details on that, just check it out on the Instagram page. And yeah, we'll be coming to you very soon. Bit of work in the back end. So yeah,
Awesome.
Stay tuned.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Easy.